Hello, welcome back to KXAM Plus. I'm your anchor, Esmeralda Zamora. If you're joining us again here live, we're sorry we had some audio issues, but we're back, we're rolling. We're here with our Nick's First Warning Weather segment with meteorologist Nick Bannin here with us today. Nick, we're going to talk about a May outlook and a look at the showers we're expecting throughout this week. But first, let's talk about the drought.
Yeah, drought's super important, and the reason that they relate is because May is such a wet month for us on average, and all we've seen over the last few months is the drought getting worse. So May is very critical because it helps hopefully ease our drought heading into what are usually the hotter and drier summer months. But also the drier May is, that can also have an influence on the types of temperatures that we see over in the summer. So this is what's happened over the last 4 months in the drought here in Central Texas. And what you can see is that 4 months ago, we had just a little area that was a level 3 out of 3 drought, the extreme. Most of the area, though, was a 2 or a 1 out of 4 drought. And 1 was the most widespread, moderate drought to severe drought. And then you fast forward to the latest drought that came out last Thursday. Remember, this does not include last Tuesday's rain, even though it came out last Thursday. There's a cutoff of data that the data basically stops getting fed into the drought monitor by mid-morning on Tuesday for them to analyze everything and then put out the drought monitor on Thursday. So there's a little bit of a delay there. The rain from last week will get into this week's drought monitor. And it's possible we could see an improvement in the drought here this week when we get that new information. But the latest drought monitor, nevertheless, has most of the area in a level 3 out of 4 drought, and parts of the hill country at a level 4 out of 4 drought. Exceptional, and exceptional in a bad way. So Gillespie, Blanco, parts of Burnett, Llano, even southwestern Travis and northwestern Hayes County in a level 4 out of 4 drought. Even our eastern counties have seen the drought continuing to get worse at a slower rate. Now, this should change in Fayette County. They had more than 5 inches of rain in some spots last week that is not included in this drought. But I show this to sort of set the stage for why May is so important. We really need our rain in May to both sort of offset the drought spreading that's been happening over the last few months after a La Nina winter that brought less rain than normal, but also to set us up for the summer when we don't typically get much rain the second half of June, July, into at least part of August. So what is the rainfall outlook for May from the Climate Prediction Center? Well, they're expecting near normal rain in May. Now, near normal in May is actually not terrible because May is usually a wet month. So getting near normal rain would be a good thing because it would help to at least keep us on pace rather than having us continue to fall further and further behind as far as rainfall goes. I should say that this May outlook came out a little over a week ago, and the Climate Prediction Center will once again be updating the May outlook again tomorrow. So if you're curious what their newest outlook tomorrow will be, I'll update this article on KXAN.com, our May outlook article, with the fresh outlook once it comes out here tomorrow. But near normal May with wetter than normal to the northeast and drier than normal to the west. What about temperatures? Temperatures looking warmer than normal. We've had so many warmer than normal months over the last year, although there were some chillier times, January and February. Yes, we certainly had our share of cold here this winter. After a record warm December, January and February were colder than normal. So it's not always been warmer than normal over the last year, but more often than not it has. And April has been warm. We'll get the final numbers on April and be able to calculate those here later tomorrow because tomorrow's the last day of the month. Amazing. April's almost done.
May is here.
Yeah, but May just about here. May begins on Thursday, and May looks to be a warmer than normal month. So you wonder what is normal for May?
Yep.
Our average high at the beginning of the month is 83, and then our average highs rise into the 90s, low 90s by the end of the month. Our lows get warmer as our air also gets more humid, so our temperatures don't drop off as much at night, given that humid atmosphere. Average lows at the beginning of the month in the low 60s, average month in the end of the month in the low 70s, and there it is. Our average rainfall more than 5 inches. I tell you, Esme, when we look at the wettest months and driest months of the year, the second wettest month averages under 4 inches. So there's such a big gap between May being our wettest month at 5 inches, and then just about the majority of the rest of the months that average 3 inches with a couple of exceptions. So there's no second closest month. The second wettest month is quite a ways away here from May. It goes May, October, and June as far as the top wettest months of the year. And the rain that we get in June is usually first half of the month, and then we really see a drop off in rain second half of June as we enter our hotter and drier period. Yeah. So this is May. Now, before we take a break, I do want to look at how much of the last 5 Mays have been wetter or drier than normal, because I said so much of the time we're relying on that May rainfall to set us up, hopefully, for a not so terrible summer. So remember, and I put it in the second line of the banner, but I'll draw your attention to it. Our average rainfall in May, this is a 30-year average at Austin's Camp Mabry, is a little over 5 inches, okay? So that serves as a good guide when we're looking at the last 3 Mays to figure out, okay, where did they sit? And 2024, last May, wetter by actually more than an inch. So that was a good May, got some good rainfall that May, set us up for the summer, which was hot, but not crazy record hot. We had about 25 triple-digit days, which was near normal. But then the year before, we had a drier May 2023, 4.3 inches. The year before that, we also had a dry May. These summers were pretty hot. So it's not always the case that a dry May leads to a hot summer, but very frequently that is the case. 2021 was a wetter than normal May by a couple of inches, and May of 2020 about 2.5 inches wetter than normal. So, and all of these wetter than normal Mays, 2024, 2021, and 2020, were also the wettest months of those particular years as well. So it is very frequently the case that May is not just a wet month, but it's the wettest of the whole year, usually by far.
Well, hopefully we get something closer to the 2021-2020 Mays this year.
2021 and 2020, yes. I mean, that would be great. We need it to be wetter than normal if we're going to really do a dent in our drought. Average would be okay. I mean, people aren't going to complain too much about an average May.
But drier
but
is
a drier
would
be terrible. That 2022 May, if we had a repeat of that, as we're already seeing our drought rapidly worsening, that would mean that May, a dry May, would continue that trend, and it would likely set us up for a hotter summer, which often causes soils to dry out even more. What you need is wet soil to keep the humidity around. It does lower the temperatures. It makes for some higher heat index values in the summer, but more humidity in the air after more water in the ground is technically what we want for the summer. Drought typically feeds on itself, so the more you're in drought, the more you're likely to stay in drought. So the wetter we can get our May, the wetter the soil can be, the more humid the air can be, the more we may even be talking about additional rain and storm chances in the summer. So May is very important for us. And coming up after the break, what we'll do is we'll talk about the rain and storm chances this week with the last couple of days here of April and then the first few days of May, and the extended outlook for the second week of May as well. We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be right back. And we're back here on KXAM Plus. Thanks for joining us. We were talking with meteorologist Nick Bannin about what the potential for storms look like for the rest of this week, and hopefully as we start May off on a right foot, right?
Yeah, every single day of the next week has rain and storm chances, although it's not going to rain at your house every day. This is very typical, though, for this time of year. Our primary severe weather season, there's some data that the National Weather Service have put out where they look at their radar position and then the area that the radar covers. And they look at how many incidents of severe weather have happened within that radar coverage zone. And then they can use that data to figure out, okay, when's your severe weather season? and when does it typically peak on average? We have this sort of data for hurricanes, but I dug it up for severe weather too. So while often we'll talk about our severe weather season beginning March 1st and continuing through the first half of June, that's sort of our rough, easier to understand severe weather season. From a technical standpoint, the severe weather season is actually a little longer than that, based on some of the severe weather data of hail, tornadoes, flash flooding, and strong winds, damaging winds within that radar coverage zone. So technically, our severe weather season goes from February 22nd all the way through June 27th. So right now we're in the thick of it. The average peak, though, the day that when they look back at all the data, we've had the most severe weather, revolves around May 10th. So less than 2 weeks from now. So we're really going to start to see a ramp up, even in our forecast, but not just climatologically speaking, of storms, of likely severe weather, with that average peak date. Doesn't work out that way every year, but an average peak date of May 10th. And then the times that we usually see severe weather, we can get data on this too. What time of day do we usually have storms that produce hail, wind, tornadoes, even flash flooding? 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. sort of makes sense when you think about it.
It's always at
daytime
night.
heating. Yeah, exactly. Daytime heating builds, clouds start to build, storms develop late afternoon, and then they really start to grow into the early evening hours. Then you lose the sun's heating. Storms are still around. They take a little longer to fade away. And then, 9 o'clock and on, we see usually a dramatic drop in rain and storm coverage. But it just goes to show you we are entering what is typical prime severe weather month here in Central Texas, which is May, which gives us a good lead in to talk about the weather pattern that we're in right now. This is not an average May. This is the May that we're entering. And what we'll see is just round after round of these areas of low pressure or short waves even off to the northwest of us. And what we'll find is when you've got a low to the west, and you've got a trough like this, and then when we've got a flow coming out of the southwest, even just mini deviations could give way to good amounts of rain or storm opportunities. So we look for these little kinks in the like little drops here, little waves to help provide some lift that tap into the Gulf moisture and help to generate rounds of downpours and thunderstorms. So this is the setup for what we're looking at here as we head from tonight into the day tomorrow. There's an area of low pressure that is off to the northwest of us. Now the proximity of these lows and their strength also can determine how much rain or storms you have. You can have a low nearby, but if it's a little too weak, then those storms mainly stay to the west or north of us. That may end up being the case tomorrow, as that low pushes through the panhandle and gives us an opportunity for rain and storms tomorrow. If the storms could break the cap, they would probably be severe, but we may see more of the severe weather threat being north of us tomorrow. But then look, another low off to the west of us again.
Right behind it.
Right behind it. And that's what that's going to do is it approaches here on Friday. We go back to that southwest flow out ahead of it that helps to bring us some rain and storm chances on Friday, especially Friday afternoon, evening, and night. And that could give way to some pretty wet weather during Friday, possibly into Saturday. Then that low moves on, and then another one develops, this one potentially even deeper as we head into Sunday. Now, this weekend, once we see the rain on Saturday wrap up, Sunday looks dry. But then as we get that low, even if it drifts off to the north, still that southwest flow is around the low, around the trough, helping to bring in more lift, pull in more moisture, rain and storms. So next Tuesday is looking particularly wet. Even though that low is not that close, it's a bit stronger. So it may act like a closer low that's weaker, further away, but stronger. Gives us a lot of lift, the potential for rain and storms. And then the good indications are that this sort of wet and stormy pattern may continue for the first week of May, second week of May as well. So here's my thinking is that when we get the update from the Climate Prediction Center tomorrow on the May outlook, would not be surprised if they either continue to keep it near normal, which is still kind of wet, or wetter than normal. I would be very surprised if they start to trend May drier than normal, just based on the pattern for the first couple weeks of the month. So let's try and get a little more specific about the rain and storms that we could see going into the day tomorrow. Today, just a low 10% rain or storm chance into this evening. Tomorrow, a few spotty showers pop up. Nothing too meaningful here. Not expecting much in the way of storms tomorrow morning, but a few showers around. A couple of showers around midday. Otherwise, we're seeing increasing sun. And then the tricky part of tomorrow is, will we have enough lift to overcome the cap in the atmosphere? Because the humidity is going to be there, the moisture is going to be there, and then should we overcome the cap in the atmosphere, there's enough instability to get us severe weather. This particular model, kind of interestingly, has the cap breaking, but not on top of us, generally to the north of us, but a few storms to the south. Other computer models don't even bring the storms north and south of us, which is why I have lowered our rain chances to just 50% tomorrow, because of the great uncertainty regarding whether that cap in the atmosphere breaks. If it does break, late afternoon, early evening would be our best opportunity for rain. Thursday, lower rain chances in the morning, and then we'll be watching the potential for the cap to break again later in the day. This one potentially a little more promising that we could see some storms before we head into Friday. Friday morning looks drier, but showers and storms starting to grow in coverage already by midday in the hill country, and potentially giving way to a wet second half of the day on Friday into Friday night. So how does this look as far as rain chances go? So rain chances tomorrow will be very much dependent on whether we can break the cap in the atmosphere, at least for the afternoon and evening. The morning, anything we get would be spotty and light. So some of you may see more rain in the morning than the afternoon if those afternoon storms don't bubble up. 40% rain and storm chances Thursday afternoon and evening, but those are up to 60% here for Friday. Wouldn't be surprised if we end up eventually increasing our rain and storm chances here for Friday. Temperatures 80s, 90s even. So it's warm, it's humid, but there's more opportunities for rain. You should almost expect, except for Sunday and Monday, expect the potential for rain and storms every single day over the next week. Generally speaking, though, it won't rain on you every day, even if you want the rain gear ready. So there's rain chances scattered on Wednesday, slightly lower Thursday, higher on Friday into Saturday. Saturday evening looking like we're start to dry out. Sunday, Monday, those lower rain chances come in. A little bit of a brief break as a ridge of high pressure tries to work in. And then much higher rain chances on Tuesday. So the opportunities are there. We're not putting all our eggs in one day's rain chance. That means if you miss it, that you get all down about it. Because if you don't get it one day, chances are that you'll get it either the next day or the day after that. So there's a lot of opportunity here for rain. And the 8 to 14 day rainfall outlook, which is May 7th through the 13th, is wetter than normal. So even over the next week, we've got plenty of rain chances. And then the week after that, plenty of rain chances too. And then we're in our wettest month. We're well into our wettest month of the year. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the pattern for the next couple of weeks. Rainfall estimates are going to be probably all over the place, because storms in some areas could produce 1 to 2 inches of rain and then miss others. And then another round of storms could bring 1 to 2 inches of rain to either the same area or the areas that didn't get rain. So adding it all up is going to be tough, and getting any sort of specifics and accuracy for rainfall projections is also going to be tough. I think that most areas will get at least a 1/4 inch to 1 inch of rain through Friday into Saturday. And then we'll have to reevaluate rain amounts for next week, sort of Sunday through Tuesday, once we get through Saturday. But 1/4 inch to 1 inch on top of what we've had. There'll be some localized higher amounts, I'm sure of it, when we add up these rain and storm opportunities. But most of us should have at least a 1/4 inch to 1 inch when you add up the rain chances tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Probably more than that, but I'm being conservative on the low end here so that we're not too disappointed. But I'll be talking about this coming up at 4, and then we'll be talking about the extended rain chances here for next week at 4 as well. So there's lots still to come, lots still to talk about, and then we'll get updated computer models for the 10 o'clock newscast tonight that'll give us perhaps a better idea as well about the timing of rain and storms tomorrow and Thursday.
Nice. Well, like you mentioned, you're going to be on the 4 o'clock newscast. So we got to get you out of here pretty soon. It's already almost time. But while I show everyone your article that was published on our website, can you let us know how we can stay up to date with severe weather alerts in case of any craziness here in Central Texas?
Absolutely. So the article's on kxan.com. It's under the weather and traffic section, then click weather blogs. It's a few stories down, because I published it a little bit ago here, but it'll be updated with the new video today. And remember, tomorrow I'll update it with a brand new May outlook, the final call from the Climate Prediction Center. So I'll put that new outlook in tomorrow afternoon once we get it to sort of solidify the thoughts there about May. And then if you're looking about how to get information on severe weather, how to stay informed, the best thing to do with that is to download our free KXAN weather app. You go to your app store of choice, search KXAN, and then there'll be the news app, KXAN news app, and then our weather app. And then there's a great section, I know Kristen Curry talked about this here a few weeks ago, where you go to settings and then notifications. Because some people don't want to be notified about every little thing, but want to be notified about the real severe stuff. Like severe thunderstorm warnings, flash flood warnings, tornado warnings. Yeah. Then there's others that want to be notified about everything, like heavy rain in your area, lightning in your area. You can turn on and off those notifications to tailor it how to you like it, so that you're not getting overly notified about things you don't want, and then you turn off notifications altogether. We don't want that. But then you can turn on the ones that you want so that it sort of fits the level of weather interest that you have.
Yeah, and you can even pick exactly what area you want to be notified for, so it's not a whole Central Texas thing. You can customize it.
It can follow your location. You can set it to other locations so that if you a work, home, kids' school, so that you're getting notified about the different weather happening in different parts of the area. Mm-hmm. It's very customizable if you get into it.
If you get into it, please download it and get into it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Nick.
Thanks, Esme.